Hey y'all, welcome back to Ramblin' Mama. I'm gonna be looking at an interrogation today. This is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Sorry. And I'm also going to be, so I'm not gonna do the full thing. This is over an hour and a half. But I am going to look at some of it and then I want to switch over and look at, I know his last name is Godejean, but I forget what his first name is, but her boyfriend and his interrogation to do some compare and contrast. I know they're not apples to apples, they're not the same person, they're not the same day, but I have some, I want to, I have some observations that I want to make or whatever. I'd like to look at them back to back like that. So, apologies for the way that my hair is looking today. You know, when the weather is cool and you start wearing like knitted hats more, and I don't know about you, but like my hair stays in permanent hat mode. Like, I washed my hair yesterday and it's still doing that like flat thing where it almost looks like I didn't wash it and it's kind of oily and stuff, but now that I'm wearing a hat, my hair is just flat. So I guess I gotta wear a hat on my head for the rest of the season. So I'm just going with it. Anyway, how are y'all doing? How was Thanksgiving? I made a video for you. I recorded it before Thanksgiving, so I'm saying like, hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, but I still haven't finished editing it, so sorry about that. So I am gonna release that probably next week, and then I am going to release after that an interview that I already did with my friend who's a psychic. So hopefully y'all will be into that. And that doesn't mean that's the end of my true crime content. It just means that I'm expanding, and it's probably still gonna be like 80% true crime, if not more, but throw in the random psychic thing or near-death experience. I'd love to interview someone who's had like a really interesting near-death experience, but just a little bit of that sprinkled in, mainly true crime. So hopefully you don't get scared off by that. Other than that, yeah, I feel like the energy's whatever. The world's insane and it's been that way for the past couple of years, and it feels like it's getting like whatever the fever pitch is, like kind of increasing in certain ways. But I don't know about y'all, but like lately I've been having all of these like intense exchanges with like customer service. And I feel like I've been in a position recently where um a few times where I've had to sort of like get pretty nasty before they do the thing that they're like supposed to do according to their policies and what they said and whatever. I know that's a random share, but is anyone else experiencing stuff like that? Like, has customer service just have they fully embraced that they've like gone to shit after COVID and it's like not coming back? Hopefully that doesn't offend anyone, but okay, without any further ado, here's a little bit of ado. I am familiar with this case and I've watched a series on it, which I'm gonna talk about in a later video that I highly recommend. That was so well acted out and everything. But I haven't refreshed my memory with the details of this case for some time. And I was gonna do that, but then I was like, you know what? Let me try to be as fresh as I possibly can while being familiar with the case to analyzing this and everything, and hopefully not bringing as many like preconceived ideas to it. So, all right, now without any further ado, let's get into it.
Hey, Gypsy. This is Stan. Hi, Gypsy. Let you guys talk. I'm Detective Dee Cock. I'm with Free Kent Sheriff's Office. How are you today? Good.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, just wanted to make sure it wasn't on 1.5 because I routinely watch things sped up and don't realize until afterwards. So I'm gonna rewatch that part again.
Hey, Gypsy. This is Stan. Hi, Gypsy. Let you guys talk. I'm Detective Dee Cock. I'm with Free Kent Sheriff's Office. How are you today? Good. Doing all right? Good. Good. Well, Gypsy, I'm here and I'm going to get a little bit of information from you. So, since this is the first time I've ever met you, okay, so what is the correct spelling of your first name?
It's Gypsy.
Okay, so automatically I can say, like, it's interesting that her body doesn't change a whole lot. She doesn't adjust a whole lot when he comes in. Oh, and by the way, I think everyone is well aware that I'm not an expert by any means. I've just been studying body language analysis a bit, and I'm trying to sharpen my skills by actually trying to use them. Anyway, so you know how, I don't know if you experience this, but usually when someone walks into a room, whether you're a female and a male walks into a room or vice versa, whatever, gender, doesn't matter. I typically don't feel comfortable staying seated. And I think it's like a somewhat universal experience that, not that someone's going to stand up from the couch in an interrogation room, but like make some sort of like halfway gesture to, either put their feet on the floor or something like that. And I mean, she pivots, right? Oh, and shout out to this channel, Crime Dummies, for hopefully letting me use this video. But let's watch it back again without any sound this time. So she's crouched like this, kind of covering herself. She does extend her hand, which is like a more adult and appropriate thing to do. And then pivots to turn him, but keeps herself covered and never straightens out her legs or anything like that. So, sorry, I'm belaboring this point a little bit, but I'm doing it to say that I think that she's very comfortable presenting as younger than what she is, right? And some of that has some like real psychological roots, which is her mother pretending that she was younger than she was and going to great lengths to present Gypsy as being younger than what she was, which is all kinds of creepy for all kinds of reasons. But what I think is interesting about Gypsy, and this is me getting a little bit ahead of this, but she's really smart. I experience her to be very intelligent, and she's very good at understanding that her kind of little girl persona gets her certain things. And I feel like she does a good job of like walking a fine line around that, not overplaying that hand too much. And we'll see as we get further into it. But anyway, here I think that's displayed as, she's staying small. Think of the Sherry Papini interrogation, right? But with Gypsy, it doesn't read as like obnoxious and bizarre. And, maybe because Gypsy is like younger, I forget, she was born in 1991. So I think when this whole thing went down, she was possibly in her early 20s. I forget, but she's young. So anyway, sorry. Let's get back into it.
I've ever met you. Okay, so what is the correct spelling of your first name?
It's Gypsyrose, and my middle initial is A.
Okay.
And my last name is Blanchard. Blanchard is Blanchard.
Blanchard, okay, with an E, okay. All right, and your date of birth, Gypsy?
Is 7/27/1995. On here they have 91 because maybe it's a long story, but
okay, sure.
Me and my mother are Hurricane Katrina survivors.
Okay.
And my birth certificate was washed away in Katrina.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they messed up a long time when they messed up the paperwork, and it said 1991, but it's actually 95.
Okay, so this is interesting because at this point, I'm pretty sure that Gypsy is well aware of the fact that 91 is her true birth year and not 95. If I recall correctly, she had glimpsed that birth date on some medical documentation or something like that. And we would come to later find out that she understood at that point that her mother was pretending that she was older than she was. And also, I think there was a certain point where her mother was repeating years for her, like, oh, you know, you're turning 12 this year. And it's like, oh, wait, but I turned 12 last year. Anyway, so this is interesting because as far as I understand, she's actively deceiving the police officer at this point, which emotions are running high. It's the very beginning of the interrogation. You know, of course, she's going to lean in heavy with her version of events, what she wants the police officer to believe, the detective to believe is the real story. And like most people who get interviewed who've actually committed the crime will only concede bit by bit by bit any involvement or guilt. But okay, so back to the whole persona, little girl persona. I feel like people pleasing is so inherently wound up into her identity because of, you know, I always say this thing wrong, Munchausen syndrome that she endured for the majority of her life, at least until this point. And the difference that I can think of between her and the way that Sherry Papini comes off, again, bringing up this comparison, is that the way that Gypsy leans forward and, you know, eagerly spells out her name and seems to have this vested interest in the detective understanding her. Whereas Sherry Papini had such this air of, you know, a celebrity kind of getting interviewed, and she had this like, you know, little girl, like little wounded kind of doe thing happening with like her knees up in the little like Biore nose strip thing that she had on her nose. But it was this energy of like people asking her, peppering her with questions. And here you can see like the way Gypsy leans forward and slowly doles out letter by letter. And that type of behavior just reminds me of how things must have been with her mother, right? She had to act in this very specific way in order for her mother to give her love and care. And her mother made it so that she was Gypsy's entire world. So much like to a newborn, an infant, a toddler, when you are wholly dependent on one or two caregivers, not even in a conscious way, they are gods to you. And you are programmed by nature to do whatever it is that you have to do to please them, to continue to gain love and care from them. And the thing that fascinates me about Gypsy, why I wanted to look at this interview, is I've always wondered where the line is for her, because she is so smart, but she did have undeniable, horrific abuse done to her. And those scars are long lasting. And we're seeing her here in this moment, in this interrogation room, at the very beginning of life without her mother. So, you know, the years and therapy and all of that it takes to unpack what her mother did to her, it can't be overstated. At the same time, and y'all tell me if you see this too, and I'll point it out, but there's moments where it feels like there's conscious manipulation that's done. So it feels like somewhere along the way, because Gypsy is so intelligent, she used the tiny bit of agency that she had to try to manipulate the world in a certain way. So it's an interesting, and I guess maybe that is how we all use our trauma, right? Like, gosh, I'm forgetting his name. It's so terrible, from the behavior panel. I've been having so many like mom fart brain moments, and it hasn't really happened to me since I was postpartum. And I don't know why it's happening all of a sudden. But anyway, Greg Hartley from the behavior panel says the organism does what the organism was rewarded for, something like that. Sorry. And so this is what Gypsy does. She fawns, she plays, helpless little girl, but also very helpful and eager and kind of like teacher's pet energy. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna stop rambling.
Okay, and that puts you at how old then?
I would be really 19, but on here it's my Medicaid. My medical insurance has 23.
Okay, all right. So how old actually are you? Let's get
19.
19. Okay.
Social Security.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know your Social Security?
Yeah. So she doubled down on that lie there, and the way that she said it until he pointedly asked her, to me, was unclear. But Medicaid has me as X years old. Okay, so why are you mentioning that? Is it because you actually are that? So, yeah, that's interesting. And also, how interesting, I'm from New Orleans, and I know about the aftermath of Katrina and how, like, entire worlds were turned upside down. And it's stuff that people don't even think of, like what she said about the birth certificate getting lost. Like, that happened to so many people, just sort of paperwork logistical nightmares. And it's interesting using that tragedy to garner sympathy and belief, just like they used fake cancer. Dee Dee, her mother, used fake diagnoses to garner sympathy for them.
Remember?
Unfortunately, I don't. I brought my card with me,
Okay.
but it's at my boyfriend's house.
Okay, we'll get with that later then. All right. Now, how long have you actually lived there in Missouri?
In Missouri since 2006.
2006?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you work anywhere?
No.
Okay. All right. Never had work since you've been in Springfield. Did you work down in Louisiana or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have family down there in Louisiana?
I have some, but unfortunately we're not on good speaking terms.
Okay. All right. And now, do you have any family here in Missouri? I'm sorry, we're in a different state. So.
Okay. I have my mom that lives in Missouri.
Okay. And is that it, or do you have anybody else?
Does friends count or not really?
No, like biological, like brother or sister, siblings, nothing like that. Okay, so are you an only child then? Okay, all right. What's some things that you like to do? I mean, what kind of hobbies do you like?
I love art.
Love art?
I love
Okay.
to go to the movies. I love animals.
Okay.
Just different things like that.
Okay. Good. Well, Gypsy, we are here investigating something, so I do need to talk with you about some things, okay?
I'm thankful because I have no idea why I'm here.
Okay.
Nobody will tell me anything.
Yeah, that's fine, and that's kind of why we're here, to kind of help you out with that, okay? So,
Also, I love where the detective sits, because you can see some body language and stuff that Gypsy can't see all of it. And I feel like this detective is amazing. Like, he manages to talk to a young woman who, even for being a young woman, sounds so much younger. It's such an obvious case of arrested development or something like that. So regressed in the way that she presents. Like, if you listen to her voice, you would think that that's something like maybe a toddler or a very, very young girl. So even if she is only 19 here, whatever the case, 19-year-olds don't typically sound like toddlers, or they shouldn't. But he's so even-keeled in the way he talks to her, and he doesn't seem to betray any, that her behavior is so strange. And also I think it's interesting that Gypsy kind of paints her situation as being like a human island. Like it's just, and to a certain extent this is true, but again, this is using certain facts to your advantage, like exaggerating certain facts to fit your specific narrative. Because I do believe there was possibly a cousin that she was in pretty close contact with, maybe just online and didn't live near her, but her cousin was worried when there was all that Facebook stuff that happened. So her painting it as like it's just her and her mom, and like no one's really looking out for them or caring about them. And also I feel like they might have had neighbors too, if I'm remembering correctly, that they were kind of friendly with and would look out for them and stuff like that. So, yeah.
I am going to just read Miranda to share real quick, okay? And as I'm reading this, if you don't understand something, I want you to stop me and say that you don't understand, okay? It's not being rude, it's not implied or anything, okay? And just let me know. How much schooling do you have?
Yeah, like that is him meeting her where she's at. He's like, you can stop me and it's not rude or anything, explaining it to her like she's a child, but not in a condescending way. I think he's really good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was homeschooled, but my education is kind of scattered, so I have the basic of a third grader.
Okay. Do you know how to read and write okay and everything? Okay, good.
Not so much spell very good, but I can read.
Okay. How would you say your comprehension level is?
Good.
Good. Okay. Okay. You do have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer, have your lawyer present with you where you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be going to represent you before any question if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Did you understand everything that I read you? Okay. Do you have a cell phone number?
No.
No, not at all. Did you have a home phone?
My mom's home
Okay,
phone.
what's that number?
417-833-8501.
Okay. 8501. Okay. Do you ever do anything on the computer? Do you ever play games or anything on the computer? Do you ever mess with the computer or anything like that?
I don't really have a computer.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever have a cell phone that you played around on or anything like that? No? Okay.
I need to find the perfect gift.
Go to 1-800-Flowers.com and celebrate the people you love.
Wow.
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 No laptop or
No.
cable
I
pirate?
don't really have a computer.
Okay.
No.
Did you ever have a cell phone?
So that's interesting. I don't really have a computer. Like, again, what does that mean? Like, do you have a fantasy computer that you play on? Like, do you have a toy computer? Like, what does it mean to not really have a computer? I feel like she's so good at just like walking the line, you know? And so is he. She's good about walking the naivete, the line without going too far, but also being calculating. And he's good at walking the friendly, I'm going to talk to you like you're a little kid because that's kind of like how you're presenting, but I'm not going to be condescending or overt about it.
One that you played around on or anything like that? No? Okay. No laptop or
No.
cable
My
pirate or
mom
anything?
didn't let me use one because she was like, it's unsafe. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did she feel like that was unsafe?
My mom tended to be overprotective.
Okay.
But,
Did she? All right, it's understandable.
That's so funny. Yeah, it's understandable. What? Like he's so agreeable. It's really nice. But this thing with Gypsy, like the shaking the head and the nodding, almost feels like she's trying to prompt the detective to like go in either direction, to keep talking about it or to not. And you can see how that big lean back and like letting oxygen in, expanding when she gets to the topic of her mother. I think despite that being like a red flag zone because of the events that have happened, and clearly, that's what she's here for. Which she did the whole prompting of like, nobody told me why I'm here. And that was a really good way to prompt him to be like, oh, well, you're here because, and then she can have her information that she's armed with and feel a little bit more prepared. But so anyway, even though that is a red flag topic, I feel like even still the unbearableness of living in a situation like that, living with an abuser for so many years, and then having to not just keep quiet, but parade around with this, little girl persona and smile on your face, like you're the happiest girl in the world, and even saying that and saying how your mother is your hero and singing songs to her in public and stuff, like, I bet she is dying to talk to someone, especially someone maybe in a position of authority or someone who presents as capable and intelligent, to unload all the years of unimaginable abuse and deception that she had to deal with.
I want to tell you that what I've got to talk to you about, if you're involved in this, then you need to tell me that now. Okay?
I'm completely 100%
Okay.
honest.
And let me talk for just.
Okay. You saw all that like flexion. Her eyebrows went crazy and then her scalp went crazy. Like, again, I think that's very the behavior panel talks about eyebrows as being like seeking approval, and before he's even able to finish his sentence and like really complete his sentiment about what he's saying, she's already into seeking approval and, like almost something like very puppy like about yes, 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 and all this approval seeking behavior.
Second, okay? But if you're involved in this, then you need to be honest with me, and you need to tell me now and not wait till later. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's interesting that she threw the blanket off at that point, because I would think she would want to conceal, most importantly at that point, kind of when the cat starts to come out of the bag. Speaking of which, like, what the hell is in this bag? Like, maybe some food or something, and like I'm guessing this is maybe her personal belongings or like maybe her medicine and stuff. But anyway, I think the reason she throws off the blanket at that point is she might be getting flushed with adrenaline and cortisol, which maybe like acutely raises her body temperature, and she doesn't want to lose the protection of the blanket right away, remove herself and have one less barrier between her and the detective. But she needs to do something to help with her temperature regulation in this moment.
I want you to understand that there's just some things going on that you need to be made aware of, and I think that you're aware of it, okay? All right? My concern at this point, let me back up with something.
You see how slick he was in getting her agreement with that, getting her to concede with things I think that you are already aware of. He's friendly, but he's assertive, and he's doing a very good job of, it makes me think of that Canadian guy, Russell something or other. I'll put his picture up, but his interrogator was just so good at like being friendly with him and respectful and not going too hard on him, like not showing his hand too much, and just meeting him where he was and ever so slowly, incrementally boiling a frog.
You're here. Do you know where you're at right now?
Yes.
Okay, where are you at right now?
I'm at the Waukesha Police Department.
Okay. All right. And how did you lived in Missouri at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you get from Missouri to here?
Not about a week ago. It was it all started when I met my boyfriend Nick.
Okay. Is it me, or is her voice slightly deeper now? It sounds a little bit less like, ugh. It's so interesting, that little girl, like tinny, like me kind of voice is like, oh, to me. I don't know. That's my subjective response. I feel like just in the past few seconds, she went from sounding like a 4-year-old, sounding and presenting like a 4-year-old, to like maybe she's 8 or 9 now. And maybe I'm imagining, but that whole exchange they had, he's like, I'm assuming you something. And she's like, yes. Was it me, or is that like the teensiest bit flirty? Like, this is what I'm talking about. There's part of me that celebrates this aspect of Gypsy because it just speaks to the resilience of the human spirit, right? That she lived in those conditions for, again, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but never am I advocating any of the acts of violence, horrific murder that was done to her mother. I don't believe her mother deserved that. As much as people are able to understand in the aftermath of what had happened, and in my opinion, quite quickly forgive Gypsy, we're not in a position to judge whether this woman lives or dies, like without even a trial at court, right? So her life was taken from her, I would say unjustifiably. It's tragic because there were, and I'm sure Gypsy has thought about this endlessly too, but there were ways for Gypsy to escape the situation, but because of the deep psychological scars, I don't even know if her brain truly could detect other ways out beyond what she thought of, which was one, to basically entrap her boyfriend. Maybe that's not the way to say it, but to guarantee some kind of adult experience by getting pregnant by her boyfriend. And I don't know how that plays out. Like, oh, well, now that she's having a baby, at least like the boyfriend has to be there with her. They all live together. Or maybe at that point, her mother relinquishes needing to keep her under her roof. But that, and the other option was to murder her mother. Those were the two options that her, I would think, quite intelligent brain could come up with. But trauma does wild things to our brain.
You're here. Do you know where you're at right now?
Yes.
Okay, where are you at right now?
I'm at the
That part, like, with both of them, that seemed like super duper light, flirty, but maybe I'm imagining.
the Waukesha Police Department.
Okay. All right. And how did you lived in Missouri at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How did you get from Missouri to here?
Not about a week ago. It all started when I met my boyfriend Nick.
Okay.
And
Okay, so I think that was her getting control of the narrative again, right? She started down one road and then, well, it all started. And I don't think it's because there's a confession forthcoming. I do think that she's getting closer to revealing more truths and pretending less, as evidenced by her sitting upright, being a little bit more exposed, turning down the dial on the little girl. But she wants the narrative that she's in control of to start with her boyfriend. And I don't think that's an accident.
We met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But
Let me back up a second for just a second, okay? Earlier when I said, let's be honest with each other, okay? I'll be honest with you as long as you're honest with me, okay? And I want you to understand that your honesty goes a long ways, okay? You don't want something in this nature to be like a big snowball. We'll use that as an example, okay? You don't want that.
You see all this exaggerated people-pleasing stuff, the like cocking of the head and the more raising the eyebrows and the kind of all this exaggerated people-pleasing behavior. And beautiful, right? Because the moment she said, my mom's laptop, in my mind I thought, poof. I used to work with this acting teacher, Larry Moss, who's best of the best. And when he's working with people on scenes, he'll kind of softly interject as they're working so as not to completely interrupt them, but to kind of gently coach in whatever moments that need coaching. And he had this adorable habit, I loved it, of whenever they would come across a part in the scene that was like some major revelation or confession or something like that, he would go to kind of signify to you, to the actors playing it especially, and I think a bit to the students in the audience watching, the gravity of that moment, and that there has to be some kind of impact that happens. And I know this guy felt it. You know, the anger that you feel, that even when you know like criminals are gonna lie, right? There still has to be probably maybe a part of you that gets a little pissed off when it becomes clear that they've lied. And the way that he kind of just like juts forward a bit, but he keeps himself like calm and kind, but all of a sudden he's very direct with her. And so she goes into this really like beta yeah thing that probably worked like gangbusters with her mom. Let's watch it again.
And we met on an online dating website. My mom had a laptop, and so I used hers.
Okay.
But
Let me back up a second for just a second, okay? Earlier when I said, let's be honest with each other, okay? I'll be honest with you as long as you're honest with me, okay? And I want you to understand that your honesty goes a long ways, okay? You don't want something in this nature to be like a big snowball. We'll use that as an example, okay? You don't want that snowball to be so big that, you know how when you pack a snowball and it's real small, and what happens when you start rolling it down a hill? It's bigger, okay? And what happens if you start telling lies? They get bigger, and you don't remember which ones you said and which ones you told. And as soon as that thing gets so big, it goes down the bottom of the hill and it crashes into a lot of people, okay? I mean, a lot of people, all right? And it hurts a lot of people, right? Because it's so big and crashes and hurts them. Now, if you're telling the truth, that's not going to happen. Is that right? Okay, so that's kind of why I want you to be honest with me about this, okay? About some things, all right? So,
yeah, you see how she like gets small and starts to conceal herself a bit more. She tucked her hands a bit further down, but still continued with that people-pleasing agreement and, you know, like nodding along and contributing and stuff. And at this point, I feel like she got a little bit younger again. We're not back to the 4-year-old, but we're kind of we're down to maybe like 6 or 7 if you just close your eyes and listen to this, on both sides too. You know, the way that he's using this as a teachable moment, and he's putting it in terms and analogies that a 6 or 7-year-old could grasp.
we need to I'm here, okay? Because I don't think that this is something that you, the intention wasn't there. I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I think that you're a smart person, okay? I think that you, sometimes you get dealt bad hand, and I think sometimes that's what's happening with you, okay? And I want you to understand that
Being dealt a bad hand, I think that's pride and ego up technique, I believe, which is basically an exit ramp for the person getting interrogated to be able to, kind of backpedal and admit some kind of guilt or involvement without it injuring their ego or pride in any way. And I remember that specifically from JCS. I hope we get another video again soon. I think there was one that was released around Christmas last year, but so hopefully again this year. But with the Chris Watts interrogation video, they pointed out how the detectives did such a good job of doing pride and ego up, which made it so that Chris quite quickly confessed to it thereafter, but first trying to pin it on Shanann because that was a more palatable pride and ego way to get out of it. But they offered that to him. That was their way of boiling the frog, so to speak.
You need to be honest with me, and if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me, okay? Your mom's dead, okay? Now, what I want to ask you is, your mom's passed away, okay? And she's deceased, all right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay? Just, hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay? Remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with a pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along. You know how you got a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay? And when you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right? Okay? And you take that pencil and you're writing along with your story. Well, sometimes some people make mistakes when they write stuff down, don't they? We've all made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, right? You ever made a mistake in your life? Yeah.
Did you notice how so many fascinating things happening here? First of all, he doesn't let up on the pressure. Physically, he is somewhat cornering her, right? He's enclosing the distance between the two of them and doing it so in this very climactic moment of revealing to her what he probably knows or thinks, suspects she already knew. And in addition to that, as she's beginning to quote unquote process that and have her like big emotional wind up that we see her working for and this reorientation that feels very choppy and labored, and he doesn't let up. And in fact, he doubles down on, I'm controlling the narrative here. I'm controlling the conversation. And I need you to focus and focus so much that look at this pen. So I would guess that's probably a technique that has to do with, it's very hard to be obedient and listen to the detective, and, like hone in on the pen like he wants you to do, or pencil, at the same time as having this like fake emotional release. But think of it from a non-deceptive point of view. If you or I were sitting in an interrogation room like this and we had nothing to do with X or Y, and we find out some horrific thing, like the one person, the only person that we had in this world, she said it herself, not really much family of which to speak. She's an only child. Doesn't sound like she had any friends or relationships with her neighbors, according to her. And now she's found out that the center of her universe has perished. And she, at some point, kind of stalls and has to like rewind it up and get it going again. And the thing is, grief hits different people in different ways. There is definitely such a thing as shock, which she wasn't portraying here, right? Because wait, what? Like, even the disorientation happens so fast that, you know, if we were thinking about it in the Larry Moss, like, scene study context, here's the revelation, your mother is dead. And then you would hear Larry go, because also it was his way of making sure that people breathe and take it in that moment, because that's typically how life goes. Some bomb is dropped like that, and your body takes time to even process what that means. And you're having such an intense, and I don't have to tell you this, everyone unfortunately has experienced some level of shock and, you know, shocking grief like this. But it's this visceral feeling of, it's all consuming, at least for a few seconds. And there is no obligation outside of yourself, meaning that grief trumps all. And their social mores, being worried about being rude to the detective, not making eye contact, not being obedient and looking at his little pen as he's demonstrating some stupid stuff to you. Like, the center of your universe has just died. You don't care about any of that, you know? And so then the physiological reaction that occurs is so much more self-contained and so much less of a tug-of-war of, this is the stuff that's happening in my body, but I'm jumping outside of my experience to like check in on you, and are you buying this, and what do you think? Oh, but now I have to crank that back up. And it reminds me of what Mark Bowden talks about a lot, that there's no, and I think it just left my mind, but like, you don't have the bandwidth, kind of like what he talks about in the hyperventilating thing. Humans can't breathe like that for very long. And when you are in this state of grief or shock, whatever, you just don't behave in this way, I guess. Long story short, but let's look back again at the moment in which she can't sustain that, like Mark talks about, and she has to like ramp it back up. And tell me if you notice exactly when it happens.
I want you to understand something, okay? Remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with the pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along, you know how you got a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay. And when you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right? Okay. And you take that pencil and you're writing along with your story. Well, sometimes some people make mistakes when they write stuff down, don't they? We've all made mistakes. You've made mistakes. I've made mistakes, right? You ever made a mistake?
So I think it's all up in there. It's like right before she says, yeah. And also when she starts, after she gets the news and she kind of starts making herself shake, and then that kind of stops. And, you know, then she starts kind of trying to make herself look like she's sobbing, and she's wiping, like covering, and then that stops. And then she starts kind of exploring her, looks like her abdomen maybe, or her diaphragm area, which legit, she might have some, you know, some kind of like visceral response to this. But she's reaching, right? She's literally in real time exploring and groping for some kind of reaction that she can keep going and keep sustained.
In your life?
Yeah.
If I made mistakes in my
Wait,
life,
did he touch her?
you ever made a mistake in your life?
Yeah.
Wow,
I
he
made
is
mistakes.
so relentless in being like, no, I'm in charge. I'm driving the car here, okay? I'm even going to use physical touch. I'm going to use a prop. I'm going to direct your attention and not let you do it's not romancer that Scott Rouse says. What is it? Trancer. I think it's trancer, where it's like, oh, I'm so sad, I can't, no, kind of like almost like someone in a trance, like praying or something, but he's not letting her. He's like, no, tap, 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 look at this, and gently and kindly, as far as I can see, but still relentless.
My life. Hang on just a second, okay? When you're writing this stuff down, all of a sudden you make a mistake. Well, what do you do with that mistake? You take that pencil and you flip it over and you start erasing stuff, okay? And you erase it and you recorrect it. And you take that pencil and then you rewrite your story, okay? And I kind of think that's where you're at with this tonight, okay? That you have a chance to rewrite your story. And I think that's what you can do, is you can rewrite your story tonight, okay? Like I said earlier, I don't think you're a bad person. I really don't. I don't think that's you at all. And you're not out here, doing things that are so bad that nobody wants to talk to you, nobody wants to be around you. I don't think that's you, okay? But what I do think is there's some stuff going on that you and I need to talk about. And why these things happen, okay? And that's where we're at with this, okay?
Also, there's no wiping away tears, and the behavior panel talks about how usually with non-deceptive feelings, there's a desire to wipe away tears and to not let them. So if in fact there are tears on her face, which I don't think there are, but I can't say conclusively because of the quality of this video, she's not wiping them away quickly. She's okay with them being like there as evidence of her having true emotion. But this is such an interesting moment because I can't say why exactly, but I almost get the feeling that his adoption of this paternalistic tone and approach isn't purely tactical. And I don't know, I don't really have much basis for this, but it feels like he's truly talking to her. He might have the slightest notion of maybe the effed up circumstances that she was living in, or at the very least maybe have an understanding of like something's not right with this situation with her mother. Something's not quite right about a woman who's maybe 19, maybe 20 something, but she presents like she's 4. And also, he knows based on what she told him that it doesn't sound like she has much of a relationship with her father, which we know she didn't, and that was also because of Dee Dee. But I don't know, it's interesting that this moment really feels like he's trying to make an appeal to her in this paternalistic way of, Gypsy, don't let your life go in this terrible direction. Now we know from another level that detectives are always kind of, I guess, ethically, sometimes not ethically, pushing an interview to go in the direction of revealing guilt, revealing involvement. But yeah, just my 2 cents.
Now, I want you to understand something. That you need to be, look at me, okay? Look at me for just a second, okay? You're in a situation where you can help yourself right now, okay? And that's what you need to do, okay? You've got to help yourself, okay? Because the more and more you let that snowball roll down that hill and get bigger, what's going to happen is it'll explode. And that's what's going to happen with you, you know? You don't want that.
Also, at this point, she looks like she's doing what they call like fig leaf or whatever, where it seems like she's protecting her reproductive organs down here, certainly her vital organs. This is definitely a departure from that whole I'm your buddy and I'm going to speak to you softly with respect kind of approach. And it feels like he's stepped fully into this role of father who is unapologetically but somewhat kindly disciplining his daughter.
Do you? I don't think you do. I wouldn't want that. So we've got to rewrite history. We've got to rewrite some things, don't we? Okay? And I think that's where we're at with all this, right? What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom.
Okay, just listen to me, okay, sweetheart?
I don't understand what she said.
That's what's going to happen with you, you know. You don't want that, do you? I don't think you do. I wouldn't want that. So we've got to rewrite history. We've got to rewrite some things, don't we? Okay? And I think that's where we're at with all this, right? What happened with your mom that night?
I don't know what happened with my mom.
Okay, just listen to me, okay?
Can y'all understand what she said? If you can, please put it down in the comments. I can't make it out. And also the way he continues to use demonstrative gestures to refocus her again. Interesting.
Okay, sweetheart, you know what happened to your mom, okay?
Sweetheart.
You know exactly. Sweetheart, listen to me. Let's not go down that road of taking your pencil and writing a bunch of mistakes down. And then when you get to a certain point, that paper's gone, and guess what? You can't erase it again.
Feels like he's using that good girl, little girl persona to get concessions from her. Like whenever she starts backpedaling, he steps back into that.
Happened to your mom, okay? You know exactly. Sweetheart, listen to me. Let's not go down that road of taking your pencil.
He goes back to that, like, little child can understand this analogy thing. Remember that snowball? Remember that blah, blah, blah? We don't want to do that, right?
And writing a bunch of mistakes down. And then when you get to a certain point, that paper's gone, and guess what? You can't erase it, can you?
No.
You can't erase it anymore. Do you want that?
Yes.
I don't think you do.
Yes.
I think you're smart enough to understand where we're at.
If there are real tears that she's wiping away now, it still sounds like she's doing that breathy thing where she's trying to manufacture or at least portray the idea of her being hysterical. But if she truly did wipe off tears just now, I think that there may be a part of her that is understanding that, like, A, she's effed, right? She's in an interrogation room, like, clearly she didn't get away with it. B, like, the center of her universe truly is gone. And she truly is an orphan, so to speak. Yeah.
With this, okay? I think you know, okay? And I know that you know, all right? I wouldn't be here if I didn't know. And I know the answer to a lot of these questions, okay? I already know them, okay? I know them, and I'm giving you a chance to be honest.
And this is also, I think, what's called the dossier technique to give the suspect or whatever, the person getting interviewed, the idea that you know a lot more than you actually know. So I'm not exactly sure at this point what he knows or doesn't know.
Honest with me, okay? Because you don't want this thing to spiral out of control, okay?
No.
Your boyfriend's in here, okay?
Oh, he's here.
He's in here, okay? All right? And do you think that we've not talked to people?
No,
I wonder if she takes comfort in that, because she seems to settle when he says your boyfriend's here. And remember back when she starts the narrative with her boyfriend, like, this is when it began to go downhill. And also it could just be a reminder that she's not as alone as she thinks she is, but it's not looking good.
Listen to me before you say a whole lot. Do not get yourself
With Grammarly Business's secure AI, insightful prompts and suggestions help you get more done. And
putting a bunch of lies, because what's going to happen? That snowball's going to get so huge, sweetheart, that it's going to explode on you, and you're never ever going to dig yourself out of it.
Snowball's exploding. That's cute. Sorry.
Do you understand me?
I understand.
So I want to know, okay, why?
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 Why did you guys hurt your mom? Okay.
You would never.
Sweetheart,
hurt
look at me. Look at me.
And you see that sort of like delay drum up thing again, like the performance of shock and being disgusted or appalled, like shocked. It's interesting though, like right before that happened, I had this feeling of like personal feeling of wanting to protect her. And I'm bringing that up because I feel like, especially because, and I remember what Greg said, it was the organism does what made the organism successful. So because her survival depended on this, right? Because her mom was not beyond probably poisoning. I think there was mention of Gypsy having a stepmom who wasn't doing so well health-wise, and then they moved away from the stepmom and suddenly she starts doing a lot better. So, and we definitely know her mom wasn't above her having unnecessary medical procedures and stuff, right? So her mom was violent in a very weird, strange, calculated medical way. You know, like third party kind of a way. But her Gypsy's body on a cellular level probably understood what her mother was capable of with her. And so playing the fawn, it truly was a survival technique. So she might have at some point developed the ability to control it and kind of steer it, but there's an aspect of it that was very true and authentic to her and necessary for her survival. And I think when she uses it well, or maybe isn't aware of using it and it's more of a subconscious thing, that might actually provoke feelings of wanting to caretake in her. And also, I think it's interesting that the public, as far as I'm remembering, was very quick to accept and forgive her. And, you know, place all the blame on her mother and also her boyfriend. And so just thinking about that fawning thing on a macro level and us doing the caretaking of her image and, you know, whatever by quickly forgiving her. It's interesting to think about.
So I want to know, okay, why? Why did you guys hurt your mom?
That part, when she said, why what? I felt sorry for her.
You would never.
Sweetheart, look at me.
Uh-huh.
I've got kids. I've been doing this for a long time.
I know, sir.
And I want you to understand something. Don't dig yourself that hole. Don't go
And
down that path.
her
okay?
hand gestures,
Listen to me
patting,
for a second.
trying to control the situation.
You go down that path, and what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen to you if you go down that path? It's not a path to go down.
If anything, I don't tell lies.
Okay? Don't sit here and lie to me, because if you do, what's going to happen is it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You're not going to remember the ones that you've told other people, okay? Other people that I've probably already talked to. You understand that?
I understand.
Okay. Why?
Would you like me to start from the beginning?
I only want you to start from the beginning, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. And I'm glad you're making that progress, okay? I'm proud of you for that.
He made contact
But
with
the
her.
first thing that we need to get out of the way right now is why. That's the biggest thing.
I like how she concedes cooperation. Would you like for me to start from the beginning? And in that is embedded some tiny admission of deception and simultaneously dives her hands under the blanket, concealing herself.
You've got friends that love you
Of course
and
I
care
know.
for you.
I know, and
You and your mom
yes,
got
of
friends
course.
that care for you.
I
And
know.
you know what? They're down the bottom of this hill with that snowball, and they're asking all these questions. They're asking why.
I know.
Now, help me give them an answer as to why. Okay? You have to give me an answer as to why, because they are so concerned about you.
I know. I have a lot of friends in Missouri. I know that.
Okay.
And, I would never hurt my mom.
Okay, sweetheart, do you really want to date?
And distancing language, never hurt her, not murder her, not kill her, not end her life.
Yourself, you're digging yourself deeper, okay?
No, seriously, I would never hurt
listen
her.
to me. Listen to me, okay? I don't play around with that, okay? I'm not gonna play around with this, okay?
Sir, I didn't do
Listen to me.
anything.
You see her mirroring his, I think it's a sign of him being really like the alpha in this situation and like really having the conversation by the reins.
Listen to me. Don't let that snowball get bigger, because that's what you're doing right now, okay? You have a chance. You have the opportunity right here and right now. Because once I walk out that door and that opportunity's gone, guess what? It's gone. It's just like when that paper's taken away, when you're writing that pencil, you don't have a chance to erase that mistake. Okay? You need to, in your family, in your friends, you don't have very many family members, but you've got a lot of friends. And we've talked to them all, okay? And every one of them want to know why. That's all they want to know. They still love you. They still care about you. Listen to me for just a second, okay? All they want to know is why.
It's hard to tell completely because of the angle of the camera, but it seems like she's doing this a lot, which is such an exaggerated seeking approval. I'm just going to go for a little bit longer. I'm sorry if I stopped and talked too much. Maybe I should have let it play more. I never intended to get through this whole thing, but I thought I would get a bit past 15 minutes, but let's go a little bit longer.
And I have to give that to them because they can't sleep at night. Because they want to know why. That's all they want to know. Okay? That's all they're looking at.
Sir, I have a million questions right now.
Okay?
So,
You know what? And I'm proud of you for wanting to ask those million questions. And you know what? We can answer those, okay?
okay.
But we got to get down to the bottom of it.
He stops her. I have a million questions sounds like it's going to go back into a trancer thing. And whoa. No, you're not going to be a trancer. I've got control of this, and this is how it's going to go.
Why? Okay? The why. And your friends are very, very concerned about you. They all love you. But guess
Bowing
what?
her head,
Those friends are standing at the bottom of that hill.
like
And
unworthiness.
that snowball
I
is
understand.
getting ready to crush them because they
I
want
think
to
I
know
get
why.
things very, very clearly. You think that it's me? Why would you think that it's me? I have always thought
Listen
my
to
mom.
me.
My mom and I are best friends.
Listen to me.
It's kind of bold of her to, I mean, she doesn't outright say, you think I killed my mother, but it still feels quite ballsy, if I may, to challenge him in that way like that. You think it's me?
Listen to me.
Challenge him directly.
Please don't dig yourself in this hole. And that's what you're doing. You're still doing it.
He's like, this feels like thinly veiled condescension to me. Listen, okay. Stop BSing. We know you're BSing. Cut it out.
Okay. But do you not think that we've already talked to some people? Okay.
He didn't quite know what he was going to say there.
Do you not think that we've talked to everybody? I mean, I'm not going to come in here without having all my things in line. Okay, I want you to understand that.
Of course, I understand that. And
We need to get to the why.
She's shrinking and cowering. It's like very visually clear.
When we get to the why, then all these other questions I can answer for you, and we can move on with this, okay? And you're the person that knows the why. You're the only person that knows the why, okay? And that's where we're at with it. You're the only one that knows the why, and your friends.
Sir?
Do you really want to disappoint your friends?
No, of course not.
Okay, then why?
May I please speak?
Well, when we get to the why this happened,
I don't even really know what happened.
May I please speak? Sounded like it was the closest she let herself get to portraying any kind of anger, which is really interesting. Vying for that control of the conversation.
I came here because my mother kicked me out of my house. She and I were having relationship problems. I guess she wanted me to stay a little girl forever. She didn't really like my boyfriend.
Yeah, so this is interesting here because she reveals her arm and more of herself is exposed. It feels like her gestures now are more congruent with what she's saying instead of just rocking or like little patting and stuff. And then I guess she just wanted me to stay a little girl forever is wittingly or unwittingly portraying that she has a psychological awareness well beyond this little girl persona. So it feels like this is a real moment of, okay, I'm going to show you my hand. And maybe it's not a full confession, but I'm ready to reveal to you that this is my boyfriend's fault. Maybe something like that. So I don't know. Maybe this is kind of signs of pre-confession. Clearly, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, the confession could start here and like continue forever, but I don't know. It might be too early for pre-confession too.
And she was like, pretty much, if you want to move to Wisconsin with him, fine, go. And I packed my stuff. She basically wanted me out of the house before then because we kept on having arguments. But I'm not a violent person. I would never ever hurt her. And
it does seem truthful that she concedes to them having arguments, because I feel like we've seen so many interrogations of people trying to portray their relationship with the deceased person, the murdered victim, as perfect and never had an argument. And the second that the tiniest crack reveals itself with like, oh, but your friend said you fought all the time, then the house of cards starts tumbling down. But she's doing a good job of like image, what is that? Like image protection or something. Being careful about how her image is perceived. I'm sure there's a beautiful PR way of saying that.
And a lot of our arguments stemmed from being with Nick. And so I just basically chose to come here. I gave him money to come here. And I said, can you please come pick me up?
Yeah, and I think from what I'm remembering, this is all deceptive. We know Dee Dee would not have willingly said, just leave, you can go. Her whole life was defined by imprisoning her daughter, basically, sadly. And I'm feeling Gypsy kind of dissociating here as she's like ... wandering off, trying to simultaneously manage her fight or flight mechanism that's definitely getting kicked off right now, and also reaching for a narrative that is believable within the realm of facts that they already have exposed on the table, but doesn't implicate her in any real way.
Because my mom's kicking me out of the house real soon.
As I think Chase Hughes would say, she's got way too many tabs open. She can't, she's overloaded and she can't manage all of it.
And that's when he asked his mom, could I stay with his mom and him and his stepdad and his little brother? His mom said fine. So, anyway, I don't exactly know the exact date he came to Springfield, but I know that I gave him the money to stay at a hotel. And, anyway, I let him know that,
Hey, hang on. Okay. We're going in a totally different direction here. Okay.
And now he's cutting through her BS, you know, her whole, and anyway feels like it's buying time for her to even make up what the hell is going to come next. I have a feeling it's about to get really, really good, but I've already done this for over an hour, and I doubt if there's anyone still hanging with me, drop your comment below. Y'all are the OGs, the real ones. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm going to wrap this up here and do her, look at her boyfriend's interrogation and probably put those in separate videos. So if I haven't included it in this video, fear not, just look around the playlist for the next one. All right, y'all. I'll see you next time.